just like they do it in the House of Representatives. Three. Good morning.
Good morning.
Everybody sounds good today. Great. Let me bring up my notes here. So welcome to meeting number 330, December 2023. Let's do the welcome first. Mr. Leal, do we have any guests or visitors today or new members? No. Okay, so we don't have to do the welcome. News items. What I'd like to remind everyone, let me see if I got my president notes. There we go. Okay. There have been updates to the Apple operating system since we last met. So Mac OS is currently at 14.1.2. iOS, which is your phone operating system, is at 17.1.2. And iPad OS, same thing, 17.1.2. And Watch OS is at 10.1.1. So what you want to do when you have some leisure time tomorrow or today is go to your settings, go to general, go to software update, and let your device look to see if it has updates that are out there. If you're using one of the older operating systems, you may or may not have an update. Okay. The other item I just wanted to sort of let you know about, if you're an investor and you're invested in Alphabet, also known as Google, you probably noticed there was this sudden dip in the stock price. It has to do with their implementing AI. As you know, the ChatGPT people are all former Google employees that left Google because they felt that Google was moving too slowly. Once ChatGPT took off and Microsoft latched onto them, and they're using that now in their Bing search engine, AI, and they're incorporating it into Microsoft Office AI, Google figured they better get moving. So they just did a demonstration of their new AI called Gemini. The only problem is they told the press, the industry press, that this was a live demo. And it wasn't a live demo. It was a demo that was pre-recorded and had been edited because Gemini didn't meet all expectations. I'll just put it that way. So when that got leaked, the price went, okay. I would just remind you that Google primarily is an advertising-based business. The advertising streams are fine. So in terms of liability of the company, yeah, it's a blip in the road. Okay, all right. So with that said, does anybody else have any new items they wish to bring to the attention of the members? Bill Howe.
There has been some talk on malware bites about wireless keyboards being able to be hacked.
Being hacked as in data intercepted? Yeah.
So just, this is the first thing I saw was the other day, so I'm sure there's more to come, but one of the
yeah. So the banking machine I use for my banking and my personal finance, I saw the same article you did. Did you see the one on Forbes, or did you see the one on? Okay, all right. Well, Slashdot also had it. So I plugged a physical cable keyboard into my Mac Mini.
So if you use like an iPad or one of those attachable
yeah.
keyboards, maybe doing your banking stuff, you might want to not use it.
Yeah. If you're in a public setting or in a private setting, like a large apartment building where, people could be, yeah. About 30 foot. But even at 30 foot, you're sort of, you know, out at the outer limit. It's spotty, you know. So typically I keep stuff within 5-6 feet. That's about it for Bluetooth, because I use older devices that have the older Bluetooth protocols.
Situation where being aware of who might be within 30 feet or so of you.
Yeah, so it's more like if you're sitting in Mickey D's, you're sitting in a booth and you got your iPad and your keyboard, Bluetooth keyboard, and you decide, oh, I'm going to do some major stock moves here, you know, you're day trading, you might not want to use the wireless keyboard. Okay, but again,
They also can
Yeah.
install malware through that. And which is like, and then they can use apps like keylogger, stuff like that to track your keystrokes and stuff.
typically that's going to be more an Android device that's subject to that.
But they're coming after the iPhones.
Yeah.
Because there's just so many.
Okay, anybody else? Any other news items? Going once, going twice. Okay. So the only thing to take away from that is be scared to use any of your keyboards now and make sure that you've updated your operating systems. Okay,
Bill,
next one. Yes,
Can you even get wired keyboards anymore?
sure,
Okay.
sure. Mac makes really good ones, especially if, okay, how many of you are keyboard aficionados? You know, artisan, you want those mechanical switches. You want to hit like the IBM Keytronic 101. Boom, 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 boom. It's like you're sitting at a key punch. You get that solid mechanical
Yeah, I
feel
like
from the. Yeah. Okay, moving right along. Dan, do you have a HomeKit minute for us?
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, hats and cats, I bring to you the Ross MS 620. Just in time for Christmas display lights outside. It's an outdoor HomeKit compatible outlet. This one has 2 outlets. The whole device is rated for 15 amps. They do make one that has 3. But I also want to caution you, they also make a similar model that is not HomeKit compatible. But, so this has the typical HomeKit QR code on the side. And so just once you plug it in, it defaults on startup to a setup routine. You simply scan the QR code that adds it to your HomeKit devices. And it links the outlets separately, so you can have 2 different devices hooked up to it and control them separately. And I've got 2 of these right now set up for my outdoor Christmas lights. It is IP44 compatible, meaning that it's weather resistant. And it's got a slot on the back to attach via a screw and a hook if you want to hang it on something, like on a Christmas tree or on an outdoor tree or something. So any questions? I mean, it's a standard remote.
Can you control the outlets individually?
Yes, yes. And I assume that's the case for the 3 outlets model as well. So as you can see, it's about $20, $25, depending on where you get it. But this one's on Amazon right now for on sale. So that's it.
Okay, very good. Waterproof and all the other good stuff. Source. Close. See, I am trainable. Okay, next thing is freebies and wanted for sale. So does anybody out there looking for a particular thing, like used equipment from somebody else? Nobody? Okay. On the table we have a Canon printer, and I don't know who brought that in. Oh, Don Gilchrist.
The printer, it's a copier printer. The printer driver will only work, I think, operating with 10.6.
Okay.
And they stopped making that. But the copier works nicely, and it's colored, if you want to pay for the color inkjet, but either one, it's free to a good home, if
Okay.
anybody wants it.
The middle box is a clock sound system, and it's meant for anybody that's got ringing in their ear tinnitus, and it's got various sounds that you can play from it that will cause tinnitus to supposedly be reduced. Okay, so that's a freebie for anybody that wants it. It's a nice clock radio, or clock, you know. And then the last item is just a rolling cart that's suitable for putting it under a Mac Pro, you know, some big heavy piece of equipment. And if nobody in the club wants it, I'm going to put a philodendron from a friend at church. And when we heard philodendron, we were thinking philodendron, but it's a philodendron, and it needs to, you know, be on rollers. So anyway. Anybody else got anything else that they brought? Say again? Oh, and there are cookies there, which I'm staying away, and the cookies are free, right? We're not charging for the cookies? Okay. You do a very good being a white, except you're supposed to lift the heel when you do
Sorry,
the.
I had my iPad and my.
Oh, okay. And you got it. Okay. Anything else over there?
Some stock bar and some unknown camera.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna say, unless there's something else that somebody's looking for, okay, I'm gonna say we're done with freebies and wanted for sale. Okay, next one is help desk. Help desk. Okay, I'm gonna start at the back of the room. You are first.
What we just, you printed that with your print now?
Yes,
So I know how to print from my iPad. and
Yes.
email and stuff, but how do you print text from your phone, or can you?
well, your phone is using an operating system very similar to that of the iPad. So the way, it's been a while since I set that up.
Should work real simple.
Typically, what you do is you have like a document that you want to print. So you share a note.
It's text, somebody text from a person.
And then,
Say, I want to print that text in order.
Oh, a text message.
A hard copy of it.
Paste it into notes and then share the note to the printer.
Oh, okay, so it'll work
Yeah.
if I put in a note?
Yeah, just click on it and hold Copy and and get the select all. Copy.
Yeah.
Just make a new note with notes
Right.
and then take that note and then share it. And then just like your iPad, it should be almost the same interface where your AirPrint's a form of sharing.
yeah.
Okay.
And the share icon is that square box with the arrow pointing out.
Okay, I just didn't know where to put it,
Bounce it off
Yeah.
notes.
where to send it, because we just said that.
Okay. And I use the same trick when I want to print a text. I'll select the text, select all the copy it, and then put it into like a note, Apple Notes, or into Apple Pay, you know, something where you're working with text, and then print it from there. Okay? That was an easy one. All right. Who else? Oh, we'll come up to the front. Dan Duncan.
Just a weird question. I've got I use Mac Mail for my email, and it started doing a follow-up message from way back, starts printing it. And I guess it's a change that was made somewhere, but I have no idea how to unchange it.
It's a setting in Mail, and I'd have to be on a newer MacBook to be able to show you that setting, where you can turn it off in Mail. But it's because Macs are being used more and more in business, And people are using the Apple Mail program for business purposes, and they're using it as sort of a to-do list, follow-up type of stuff. Okay. And it's because that's what, an M1 MacBook Air?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's because you're on Ventura or Sonoma at this point. That's part of what they put into the mail. Okay, so that one, we got to follow up later on. Okay. Yes, sir.
Been noticing recently on my desktop computer, my studio, that every once in a while, I'll lose connectivity to my Bluetooth input devices, my keyboard, my mouse, my Magic Trackpad. And so the screen will be there, I can't see the cursor, I'm moving it around, moving everything around, trying to find the cursor, it's not there. I keep tapping and tapping, and after some period of time, that I don't know if it's consistent or not, the little window will pop up and say, you know, connected, mouse connected, trackpad connected, keyboard. But I never disconnected it, and I never saw any window or a notice come up that says you've been disconnected. You know, it just happened because kind of my product.
What's the battery status like on those?
Oh, they're all half and up, 50% to 100%.
So it's not a low power thing?
No.
So
no.
since you've had the studio, has this behavior persisted since you got the studio, or did it
No.
just happen out of the blue?
It's just been recently, maybe since the last
Around that time that it
Sonoma
started,
update.
around the time it started, did anything in the EMF profile of your house change? In other words, did you get a new garage door opener? Did you get a new router? Did you get anything that would change like the way the electromagnetic profile of the area is?
No.
No, so that doesn't make sense. There are people from time to time and out there who just get stuck with a bad, the daemon, the service that runs that does Bluetooth, for some people, just they can never get it right. So that's what I'm worried about that you're having. That's a software thing. Also, every one of those things has an antenna, even though you don't see it like the studio does, right? And so every now and then antenna, you just get a bum version of it, but that would have happened the whole time you had the studio. That wouldn't have happened out of the
And it wouldn't happen all three.
I mentioned the EMF stuff because when my garage door opener, which is very old, every now and then it goes through cycles where it changes its channel and all my Bluetooth goes crazy and I have to go change it back. So it's a real thing, the EMF. But that doesn't make sense with the timing or the pattern. I wonder if it's the daemon is freaking out. And there might be sophisticated ways to troubleshoot it, but I don't have a home run way to articulate that.
I had some weird stuff happen when I just put the hard drive in the wrong place.
Yeah, sometimes the EMF
The EMF
profile
just
really
wiped out-
changes.
wiped out.
Yeah, I have to make sure that my router is within
Well,
certain ranges too.
the only thing I did recently, actually, as I think about it, is I rearranged the printers
I could do it.
in.
I know, it
in
sounds
my-
crazy.
In my office.
Might just
But
let-
one of those printers could be blasting. Real quick, without going
And
into too much detail.
they're all wirelessly connected, so.
We think of these things in terms of Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or these protocols, but it comes down to electromagnetic waves, right? And sometimes these things are on channels that conflict with each other and do really weird modulations. And something as simple as rearranging your printers, one of those could be writing a real-world frequency that your studio's Bluetooth is. And it would be interesting as a phenomenon to move them or unplug them and see if your behavior moves.
Yeah.
Turn them off.
My
For a while.
father-in-law had put a different type of light bulb in one of his lamps, and his remote TV wouldn't work when the lamp was on.
It's real. We cram our houses with EMF now. You know, they're just crammed with
Think
it.
about
The
your
other
brain.
thing, just,
Yeah.
do you have Bluetooth on your menu bar where you can click on it and see what
Yeah.
devices are there?
Yeah, it shows what's connected and what's there but not connected.
This is one of the worst things. This is like having a syndrome or something. Like it can be tough to track this stuff down, so I don't envy you. It's kind of a pain.
Well, it feel helpless because you can't interact with your computer anymore and all your input devices are not working. So the only thing you can go reach for is the switch and turn it all off and start it all up again.
Or plug in a wired
wait.
mouse or plug in a wired
Yeah.
keyboard?
And which you don't want to have to do.
Yeah.
Do you need one?
No, I've got
The backups. You gotta have the backups.
what I need.
The hard
If I have to go that far, but.
Okay.
I think
You
it's
you have USB keyboards, right? It's not an Apple
I have a USB keyboard
Okay.
and a
You have to
USB.
make
Apple
I have a
desktop
trackball, actually, USB
Okay.
trackball.
Okay.
ADB.
The only reason I mentioned about the Bluetooth on the menu bar is that's how I figure out why something dropped off. And it's almost always, I forgot to put batteries.
But if all my devices aren't working,
Yeah,
on my
it's-
input
it-
device, I can't get to it. I can't click on it to see what
That's
it's
true.
showing.
Well, I mean, if you did the other,
Oh, it's
Wired
keep a
mouse.
wired mouse.
yeah. I think it's when you move your printers around as a
Apparently.
candidate.
Yeah.
But even if you're in that situation, you could take a wired mouse, plug it in, and then you've got a device that you then can.
Yes.
That's
Well,
why
It's in
whenever
the
I,
closet, buried in the closet somewhere. I need to pull it out, clean it off, and put it where I can get at it. You know, when you're moving on with these new technologies, you don't necessarily figure, oh, I'm gonna have to fall back on, you know, yesterday's
I
technology.
never get rid of the old technology.
Well, that's you.
He's been-
Thank
I have
Aaron's
one
been in
closet,
my
I have one small closet to collect this
It's
kind of
Valhalla
Okay.
down there for me.
Okay, anybody else? Yes, go
Just tell
ahead.
you, I found it on settings and got in general,
Okay,
took care of it. Thank you.
so it was mail, settings, general.
General, there's a little click spot,
Okay.
so you're talking about.
So it actually was settings, general, and then in, okay. Okay, anybody else going once, going twice? Have we got anybody monitoring Zoom land to see if anybody out there has a question? We're good?
They can speak if they got a problem.
We look good. Okay, I must say we're good. All right, so the next thing then would be the raffle. Wow, we're just whizzing through.
Way ahead of schedule.
Holiday.
I'm not
What
gonna
do we
talk,
got, Ken?
You're gonna have to,
I'm gonna have to talk slow. This is,
27.
okay, how are we doing the raffle today? We don't have Mark Georges here today. So we have our treasurer subbing
Right here.
as camera person, and we have Bill House subbing as
The number
flipper
guy.
of, okay. So our presenter, Rick Cartwright's going to be doing the presentation. He'll be talking about journaling,
Yeah.
writing down stuff in an app, like keeping a diary. And he'll be talking about an app coming from Apple real soon now. And he'll be talking about another app that's already is available to do journaling. And he'll be talking about why you might want to do that. That's pretty fun.
You're good.
I didn't give it too much, did I?
I'm done, that's it. Good morning. So, the first part of this might be a little boring, because I love to read research, and so I stuck some research in here about journaling, because I think it's really important. And I think it gets more important as you get a little older, and we all qualify. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that, and we'll just kind of go through it. And if you have any questions, stop me. I stop a couple places for questions, but let's just see how it goes here. And I have to start the recording. Hang on. So the first question you might ask yourself is, why should I journal? This is not about just writing a diary. When you were a teenager, maybe you kept a diary. I didn't, but maybe your sister did or something. But there's a lot of things that we may want to think of as journaling that aren't really necessarily thought of as journaling most of the time. For example, I go to the gym every morning. I spend a lot of time in the gym every morning. And I write down everything I do in the gym every morning. Why would I do that? Because it helps me to know that I'm making progress, that I'm actually getting somewhere in my effort. So journaling can have a lot of useful things. We may want to journal what we do in the kitchen. Maybe you like to cook. And maybe you use a particular recipe, and maybe your journal would be, what did I do in the kitchen? How did I cook that roast? And what seasonings did I use? What might I want to remember to do the next time? So journaling can be really impactful on all kinds of aspects of your life. There's a lot of different areas of life where we can use a journal. But I found several different research projects that talked about some of the benefits of journaling. And the first one talks about stress. Anybody have any stress in their life? Yeah. Everybody has a little bit of stress in their life at some point. And a little bit of stress may be considered good. But got a little bit of echo. But the reality is, stress can be really tough on our heart, our body, and a variety of things physiologically for us. So reducing stress can be really important. What they found in this research, and I found this blew my mind, it started out talking about it. It said that healthcare practitioners, family writing together, spending 3 minutes a day writing in a journal lowered stress. Well, you think, well, how could that possibly be? How can writing in a journal lower stress?
Right in 3 minutes.
They just said 3 minutes. That blew me away.
You can't cover your whole day in just 3 minutes.
Well, you can write for longer.
One bullet point.
You don't have to just do it for 3 minutes. They're just saying 3 minutes actually had an impact on stress.
Worth writing down.
And so they talked about this process where they went through this whole research. You can read the whole thing if you want, but they actually evaluated the reduction in stress of people when they wrote in their journal. So writing in a journal can be really impactful in terms of lowering stress in your life. So the number one thing that you should take away from this thing about journals today, besides what I'm going to tell you about the apps, is that writing in your journal can reduce your stress. So if you're feeling stressed out, if I'm stressing you out here today, take out your journal and write a few things down and lower your stress a little bit. So that's number one. Number two, health and well-being. How might health and well-being be improved if you're writing in a journal? Any ideas? I'd like to hear your thoughts. Well, how do you think
Tracking symptoms.
tracking symptoms, writing down your current condition? When I talked about my gym thing, I use that and I can look back for years now on my time in the gym and see how I progressed, but I can also, sometimes I wrote down how I was feeling, or if I made good progress or whatever. So just tracking your general state of being can be really helpful. So here's another research. See, I told you I was going to have some research today. Here's another one. You can look this one up. This was from Cambridge. Emotional and physical health benefits of expressive writing. Now here they said 15 to 20 minutes, 3 to 5 occasions. So they're not doing it constantly, but this is a little longer. But writing down about your health can help you to be able to understand your stress levels and so forth like that. So that's number two. We have a few of these. Here's some of the longer term benefits of expressive writing. Substitute expressive, just substitute journal writing. Health outcomes, fewer stress-related visits to the doctor. We talked about stress already. Improved immune system function. I would never have guessed that one, but in their research they found that they got some improvements in the immune system. Reduced blood pressure, that one I buy because of its connection to stress. Improved lung function, improved liver function, fewer days in the hospital. These are things that they saw from people that wrote in a journal. She came on time, I'm going to trip over. If I fall, pick me up. I'm not going to write my journal to get right from that. And social behavioral outcomes, reduced absenteeism from work. A lot of us are retired, so maybe it's not going to work, but other aspects. Quicker reemployment after job loss, improved working memory. Memory one, I think, is a real big component of where you can help yourself with write journal. If I don't write things down, it helps to reinforce it in my mind. So writing in a journal helped me to remember it. And it's not necessarily that I go back to the journal and look for it. It's that I wrote it down and it somehow transcribes better in my brain. And I remember things well after I've written them down. So writing in a journal can help your memory. And I've experienced that firsthand. You're not students, or maybe you are, but you have higher grade point average, all of our social and linguistic behaviors. So there's all kinds of reasons that we might find that we get those benefits from writing in a journal. The next one is this. As we write in a journal, it gives us time to focus. I don't know about you, but I'm always, even when this is I've been retired, I still do this. I bounce from thing to thing. I like to be busy. I like to be doing something. Writing in a journal forces me to take time to pause and focus. So writing in journals help you to get that focus in your life and to improve that focus. And there's some research on this one. We're not going to go through that. But I think that as you focus, it brings this sense of accomplishment, sense of well-being, sense of calm, and helps you to get some zen or whatever you want to call it in your life. Lastly, and here's the last one, writing in a journal helps you kind of put all the pieces together in the puzzle. I think as I've aged, I've noticed this more. I find that if I step back and I look at life as a puzzle,
I'm able to put it together better, and I do that best when I'm writing it down. And if you don't want to write it down, draw it. I think there's something about drawing. Some people are much more visual, and they would prefer to draw in their journal than they would write in their journal. And so we'll talk about that a little bit. So that's why you should journal. Any questions on that before we go on and talk about these apps? Because I really want to get to the apps, yeah.
Is there some way to categorize themes? In other words, when you're journaling, you probably have some thematic things you're listing daily or repeatedly. Can you put it in kind of a database form so you can just quiz?
We'll talk about that.
Okay.
Let's talk about that, because there is some things there, and it very much depends on the app and how they structure the app. And we're going to cover 2 apps today. I'm going to talk about a third one just off the cuff. But that's a good point. Kathy?
My aunt, years ago, wrote in a journal every day. And my uncle got the West Nile. And by using her journal, they were able to put some of the pieces together for research. So it was helpful for
Yeah,
them.
you can see, especially if you do a lot of, I have some stuff my mom and dad wrote before they passed away. And after my father died and I found it, I didn't know he'd written quite as much as he had. There's things that I had learned in there that I never knew. And he was 86 when he passed away. And we had never had these particular conversations. And I was just shocked. And so journals can be really helpful when you're dealing with the loss of a loved one, things like that. You know? So kind of leaving something behind for somebody else just can be really helpful for them. All right, any other questions, comments, journaling comments before we go on to talk about these apps? This is going to go way too fast. Okay, we're going to talk about apps for journaling. If you go to the App Store or the Mac App Store or the iPhone App Store, wherever, you'll find there are several of them. We're going to focus on 2, but before we get this 2, I want to make a quick comment. Journaling is really about recording your thoughts or your whatever's going on in your life. And you can do that anywhere. You don't have to have one of these apps. For the longest time, I talked about my writing down my workouts in my phone. I've got logs of workouts at home going back to 2000, 1999, 2000, somewhere around there. Those first several years were just all handwritten, and they're really a pain to keep around. I probably have lost some of them even. But over the last, yeah, she knows where they're at. The last few years, I've been recording them on my iPhone. Now, there's a little bit of a danger in having your iPhone in the gym, I will admit. But I write them in my iPhone. And I just use the Notes app. So, you know, if you don't want to use any of these apps, you already have something on your phone, your Mac, your iPad, where you can record your journal, and it can be a very productive tool, and that's just the Notes app. So while I'm talking about these, keep in mind that you already have something that you can use. If you just want to start writing down your thoughts, you can put the date at the top, and then write to your heart's content. Write for an hour if you want, or for 15 minutes, or for 3 minutes. But you could put it right in your Notes app if you wanted to do it that way. Some people don't like to write electronically. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. But I found that writing electronically has been really good for me.
About speech to text.
You can do that on your phone. You can do dictation just like anywhere else. In any of these apps, you can do that. So you can do that. You can do it in the Notes app too. So the first one I'm going to talk about is called Day One. Anybody heard of Day One? Day One is an app. It's in the App Store. It's been around for quite a while now. You can get it on the Mac. I've got a slide on this, but you can get it on the Mac, the iPhone, and the iPad. We'll talk through some of the examples, but it's really a powerful app. It will do all kinds of cool little things, and I'm going to talk about a couple of those because they're unique, and I've got too many computers in front of me. So this side says, yeah, it works on all 3. I have used it on my iPad mostly. I have used it on my iPhone, but just a little bit, and it works the same both places. So this has I have a journal I call my gratitude journal. I started to try to use Day One for this. I've stopped using it so much anymore. But you can see I have several entries. This was from 2023, 2020, 2020. This is one I just played with the other day. But these were apps I wrote. You got a picture of my granddaughter, another granddaughter, some comments I wrote in after Thanksgiving that particular year. We didn't get together as a family that Thanksgiving, so I had a lot of things on my mind. And that particular entry is really long because I was really missing the family at that time because it was Thanksgiving Day and nobody was there. And, you know, it just felt good to sit down and write what was on my mind. So you see all your entries on one side. You can have all your entries here. Then the rest of it's just the canvas. Here's where you write your new entry. And here's things you can do. You can pull in photos. So let's say, for example, I got that picture of my granddaughter. And let's say today you were at your party or something, and you want to put some pictures in your journal from that activity. You just click photo, pull in all those photos, stick them right in the journal, then write your text, and it will be part of that journal entry, and it'll be there for good. You can use different templates. I have not used any templates in day one. I've used it as the bare basic functionality, but there are templates you can use to have different templates for different situations you may have, or different types of situations. You do that in templates. Day one has the ability to add audio notes, so you can actually leave an audio there. You can record an audio, and it doesn't transcribe it there, but you can just leave an audio and record it and stick it right inside the note and leave it there for posterity or for yourself or for whatever. I don't know that I would ever want to record an audio of myself, but I do know I'd like to get audios of my grandkids. So, you know, videos and audios of grandkids are just priceless. So you might find a reason you want to use that. I've never used it. And then there's some others. There's some more areas, some other things you can do. Go to the next slide. It doesn't have it there, but the more has some other things you can pull in. No big deal. But I want to talk about some of the pros and cons of this particular app. It's easy to use. It's easy to set up and really, really easy to use. Day one is just flat out simple. You install it, you start writing. It's that simple. Now, if you want to record, you got multiple journals, then it gets a little more work because you have to record in multiple journals, and it does have the ability to do multiple journals. There's a free version. That's the one I use. I don't pay for day one, and you'll see why in a couple minutes when I show you the cost. But there's a free version, and you can write in that thing, and I've been writing in that, as you can see, clear back in 2020. This particular was in 2020. I wrote before that in there too. And they've never charged me a penny. It's worked every time. Maybe someday they'll change that, but they haven't so far. It's a large writing space. You can add photos. It's got a calendar. You can put things in the calendar and find it by calendar, by date, or by title. Yes.
Can you dictate to it rather than write?
Yes, but you use the iPhone dictation function, which is standard in the iPhone. So you just start dictating, let Siri put it in there, and it would work. And you can share. There's an option to share entries with somebody if you wanted to. I've never done that either. It's not something I've had a desire to do. Teresa's never read my journal. She don't know what's in there. I've never told her she could read it. I never told her she couldn't read it. She just never seen it. Maybe when I go away someday, she'll sneak my phone and take a look. I don't know. Cons. This list was written by some people that are in the mental health industry, and one of their complaints was there's no mental tools, no help tools. So if you're feeling stressed, for example, you know, it could pop up a thing and talk about ways you could reduce stress other than writing. That would be a nice little tip, maybe. It has no additional tools for any kind of things like that. It's just a place to write. And that's all it does. And that's fine for me, but if you're wanting it for other things and wanting to use it for a little more than just writing, it doesn't support that. There's no additional tools or help tools to tell you how to journal. There's nothing like that. It's just a place to write your journal. And does that really well, but that's all it does. The free version allows for one daily entry with one photo. Which is why mine only had one photo. So I'm using the free version. The free version does have some limits. One of the limitations is you get one journal and one picture a day, one entry a day. And that's the way I used it because I was only wanting to use it for one entry a day. If you want more than that, you can get more than that. You can get unlimited with the paid version. We'll talk about the paid version here in a second. There's an Android version. Nobody here probably cares about that, but there is an Android version. And it sucks. free advertising for the Apple. So, there's no social media integration, et cetera, et cetera. So that's just the basics, what you get. Here's the cost. This is why I use the free version. It's $35 a year for the paid version, or $5.99 a month, which is a lot more than $35 a year. So if you like day one, and you found that it was worth it, it may be worth $35 a year. It's not that much a day. So, you may, if you really write in your journal a lot, and you really care about it, you could do that. You can back your data up too, by the way, so you can back up your entries so they're not going to go away. Yes.
How good are the search capabilities in the app? Being able to find notations that you've made in the past about this.
I think you can search by topic. I haven't done a lot of searching. I'll have to report back on that. Because my experience with this pen, I've never had to search much. But, there's a search bar, so I'm sure it does it fair, but I don't think it's great. I just think it's adequate, from what I've seen. Yeah.
Where's the information stored? Is it stored locally on your device, or is it stored in the cloud somewhere?
There's a setting you can store it in iCloud, because it does share with other devices if you have them, or you can just store it locally. So you can do either one. Other questions? Yeah.
On the, it said one entry a day, can you write in the morning and then in the afternoon?
Oh yeah, just one entry. You go back and keep adding to that entry.
Okay.
You could add it once, that would be the day's entry. So you could write some in the morning, go back, you can pull it up and edit. In fact, I did that. There's a place you click the button, you say edit, and you could type additional text to the previous report. It would stay in that one day's entry though. This one wouldn't do what you were asking about. You couldn't have multiple, this one, unless you pay the premium, you're not going to have multiple journals, one for work, one for your passion in life, one for whatever. This is just one journal, one entry a day, one photo a day. No audio, for example, that type of thing. I think that should on the next slide.
Damn it, I haven't journaled in 6 days.
So here's the things you get. They say it's worth every penny, by the way, that $35. Unlimited photos and videos, multiple devices, unlimited journals, audio recordings. It's got a good rating. There's some reviews at the bottom, and then you can read them. Any questions on day one? This is day one, and it's good. I mean, it's a good app, yes.
So the comment worth every penny, that wasn't you saying it's worth
No.
every penny. It was
I wouldn't
saying.
I wouldn't pay for it because of the way I use it.
It's not worth even a penny.
It's not even worth a penny for me. Yeah. I know people that have used day one for years and love it. I mean, I have a friend, he lives in Tennessee, and he just thinks it's the greatest. He writes in it religiously, he really believes in it. He's a big fan, he pays the price because of the way he uses it. So for him, it's worth it. But that's each his own. All right. Before the sweeper comes and sweeps me up, let's talk about app number 2. It's just called, guess what? This is Apple right to the core, Journal. You do not have this app yet. This app's going to be out next week. iOS 17.2 is going to be released next week. And when that comes out, this app is going to appear on your phone. It'll be brand new, and it'll be out next week. I've been using it for a month or so now on the beta, and it is solid. It's really good, and I really like it. I'm going to try to share why I like it here real quick. Yeah.
It's going to be on Mac OS also?
I want to talk about that. That's part of the problem. And that's one of my biggest frustrations with it. This is also classic Apple. They're releasing it first just on iOS, and then you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
The next year, and then later this year or next fall, it'll appear everywhere.
The engineers have to figure out how to get it to work on Mac OS.
Yeah. So it's going to be announced as part of iOS 17. It'll be on 17.2. That's next week. It's not available at this time on the iPad or Mac OS, which is really a frustrating thing because I like to write my journal on my iPad. And I mean, I can write on the iPhone, and I can record on the iPhone, I can do things on the iPhone, but I really like to work on the iPad. So, that's just, I wish it was all 3 places out of the gate, but it's not. So I'll wait. It'll do photos, podcasts. You can, and I'm going to show you this. It's really cool how they've done this because they use a very visual way of helping you remember what you did that day, and then you can look at the things that they may offer up to you. and say, which one of these things do I want to include in my journal that I did today? So if you took a bunch of pictures today and you had a certain location, it'll come up and say, here's a location you were today, and here's a bunch of photos you took that day, and you can pull all that stuff right in your journal. And it automatically kind of helps you figure that out. Does a really good job of doing that. And most importantly, it's free. Kind of. I mean, you don't have to pay any extra, it comes part of iOS. If you're in the Apple, you're paying an Apple tax already, so you're paying for it one way or another, I guess, but it's free. Here's a couple screenshots on my phone from the journal. So the first one, this is what I was talking about. I pull the thing, I open the thing up, and it says I took a morning walk. Well, this is after I already recorded it. It would say I took a morning walk. It shows where my walk was. It says I listened to this music, and you can scroll across, and you see all the music I listened to while I was on my walk. You see what I was doing, what I have a podcast, if you're using the Apple Podcast app, what podcast you were listening to. If I took any pictures, they would be there. And then I can just click the button and tell it to create that. So the way that works is, you start with this screen, you say new entry, and then you can look, Wednesday, December 6th, here's some of the different things I did that day. I worked out that morning in the gym, listened to this music, and you can scroll across. I took an outdoor walk, I listened to that. You get the idea? It just serves up what you did as part of the experience you were on that hike or whatever, to help you get to thinking about why you might want to include in your journal. Now, you may not want to use any of that. You don't have to. You can just start writing and just put your text in your journal. You don't need to add all that extra stuff. But you can use it to help you remember what you did that day and what you may want to do. So in this case, I said, yeah, let's start writing this. I select, I want to start writing for Wednesday the 6th. You can save without writing, or you can start writing. So, and you see these little bubbles going across here? That means what it always means to Apple. You can slide across, and it'll show you a screen for every one of those things that it knows that you did that day. And you can pick which ones you want to include in your journal. So it's really powerful for that.
So if you hit save without writing, it's going to save all the stuff that it collected for you that day and said,
One journal entry.
that's my entry.
Yep. Yeah, if you just want to record what songs you listen to, where you went, where you, in this particular.
This is like Big Brother tracking, though, in a way. I mean,
kind of. It's all on your phone. You're not going nowhere. But yeah, it's Big Brother telling you what you did.
everything you listened to, every place you went, everything you did.
Well, like they don't know that already.
Well,
This is just presenting it to you. It already knows it.
But you know it. So you can go through. I just scrolled across to show you some of the screens. If you start here and you start flipping across, you see all the different things. So I listened to some Deep Purple that morning, listened to some Boston. Sometimes I get in the mood to listen to stuff from the 70s, because that's me. And then it shows I did some strength training and elliptical cross training at the gym. You get the idea. And you can pick which ones you want to include, not include them. It's up to you. You decide how much you want to include in your journal. I don't know that I'll record a lot of this stuff in my journal. What I want it for, I'm ultimately going to use this to log my workouts instead of notes. I'm not going to have any of this other stuff in there. I'm not going to record what music I listen to, because I really don't care. I just want to have a place to log it and record it and track it. So I'm going to try it for a while. And then after you're done, if you click on the little chevron up here, you get this. You can edit, bookmark an entry, or delete an entry. So if you want to erase what you put in, you can delete it. If you recorded one event and you want to add some stuff to it, you can say edit. You can add more stuff to it after you've written it. You come back later in the day and you want to write more that day. But here you can have as many entries as you want in a day. You can come in and do 10 entries during the day. You don't have any of those limitations at all. Free. And so here I put down, I just wrote it. It said I took a morning walk listening to As Long As I Can See the Light, and then there's some thoughts, and I had to just type some text just for playing around. I haven't started using it every day yet or anything. I just made some entries to try it out and see what I thought. Here's my pros and cons on this tool. Pros, it is really easy to use and it's free. There's probably more pros that I'll come up with over time as I use it a lot longer. But It is really easy to use, and it's free. The con, it's very minimal functions. This is also typical Apple. There's not a lot of functionality here. It's not going to blow your socks off with all kinds of cool, wild ideas. Their big thing is they serve up your experiences from the day to try to help you find something that you may want to journal about, and they do it in a very graphical way, and it's very minimalist. There's not a lot of things to it, and it's free. But the real downside to me is, for now, it's only available on the iPhone. So I probably won't start using it every day until it's available everywhere, or at least on my iPad. But I'll use it some. For now, I'm still writing my journal. So, and minimal functions means there's just not a lot it does. If it, for another one, it doesn't do, I like the idea of recording audio clips, even though I'll probably never do it. I like that for my grandkids, if I wanted to record something from them, or I was with a relative that, is in bad health, I may want to record something, a conversation. There may be reasons you'd like to record it. It just doesn't have that tool, that capability. Probably a way to make it do it, it doesn't do it well. Yes.
With what you showed, it sounded like you recorded events you were doing just because you had your iPhone with you. Is that what?
Yeah.
It's doing it. You're not having.
I'm not doing anything. I'm just taking. I have my phone with me and my watch, and it seems to be mostly stuff on my phone. Although some of it's stuff on my watch. The exercise things that it records, my weightlifting, the calories and the weight timing and all that. That's all done from my watch. So it's recording stuff from my watch and my phone, as far as the entries. But it's only putting them on the phone.
That sounds like sort of a positive thing. You're trying to remember.
Yeah, that stirs up some interesting
dialogue
stuff.
of what you did that day or something.
Yeah, I found it interesting to look at what I do. I find it more interesting to see what I listen to in the gym than I don't remember. Because when I'm in the gym working out, the last thing I'm thinking about is what song is playing. And I just work out, and then I look back and say, did I listen? Like that, I said I listened to Boston that particular day. I do not remember listening to Boston that day. Maybe I'm getting really old. I do not remember listening to Boston that day, because I remember Boston, I love Boston. And there it was in my list that I listened to, and I didn't remember listening to that. So, whatever, it tracks all that stuff really well. And I threw this slide in just kind of in summaries. I had a little bits of this earlier, but this is all the entries from that day. And I don't know, Fleetwood Mac, Boston, that's the one I didn't remember listening to. So I was really shocked when Deep Purple came up. I do remember that. I talked about listening to Deep Purple. Anyway, that's kind of in a nutshell what that app does. We're doing a Q&A, and we're going to be done really, really early. I can't believe it. But I'll answer some questions. Maybe we'll go into deeper than I think.
Can I say something?
No.
I have a son that's really into genealogy, and I don't know if he's asked you, but he asked me to write our history as to how we met and all that stuff, because he's interested in that, and this would be good for that. This would also be good for anybody that is looking to do genealogy to find out, like, I don't know how my grandparents met. I don't know any background about my grandparents. If they would have kept a journal and wrote down what was going on in their life, that would have been helpful, because I don't know. So writing in a journal as to what you experienced and how you maybe met your spouse, or how you felt when your kids were born, and maybe your kids wouldn't be interested in it, but maybe they would. I mean, because a lot of people are turning to genealogy to find out their history of their family. So this would be good for that.
It could be used for that. Bill?
How are you able to export this to a more durable format other than electronic, or is this electronic only?
Everything I've done has been electronic only. I'm going to pull up my journal real quick here and see if there's... I have not seen any way to export it. I'm sure that the files are there somewhere, there's a way to get to them, but I have seen nothing. And there's no, in the current version, which this is version 1, and you know how Apple is about version 1. There's no export functionality in the current version. So, not yet, but I would imagine there'll be something down the road.
Because, you know, I could see both a pro and a con. In one sense, it's ephemeral, which is probably good, but in the other sense, it's not, because it's ephemeral, it's not a historical record that would be available later on.
You can sort this journal by all entries, music and podcast, activity, or places. So if you wanted to get places all in together as a group, you could do that kind of stuff, but it's still all digital. There's no tool there for exporting. I can't, there's not even one I can find for printing. There's not even a print function right now. But at least I have. Other questions or comments?
Some of the comments that have been made put this in a category of developing a history of ethical will, or something for your memoirs maybe. And that's a real deficiency if you can't get it to something more permanent.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would think they'll fix that. I just don't, right now, but even day one have that limitation. I mean, if you want, there's probably some apps that do that. This doesn't do it yet. But I wouldn't be surprised if that did come a long time. But you know, that's a really important aspect to you. You probably want to think about that long and hard before you start investing a bunch of time, right? Because once you've written it, then you got to figure out how to get it out of there, get it somewhere else, which I'm sure there's a way, but it's not there now. Other questions or comments? Yeah, Bill.
Have you personally noticed health benefits in journal?
Yeah.
Stress?
Stress, but mostly for me, it's more that idea of kind of helping me plan, think things through, be a little more organized. That's where I get the most benefit. I don't stress as much as some people. I get a little stressed here and there, but I don't have constant stress like some people do. So stress wasn't a big issue for me. For me, it's mostly been about just helping me think through and be organized and plan. That's where I find journaling. For me. Anybody else got questions? So 17.2 will be this week. Real quick, I'll just tell you, it's been solid. I've been using it for every bit of, I don't think, maybe 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. And it's been solid, so I wouldn't hesitate to update it when your updates come out. The version that's going to come out came out last week, the final beta, so it's solid. So I would update it. I would recommend you update it. Not necessarily just for this app, but there's other things too. There's some music changes. There's some changes to notification alerts, and sounds you hear. A few things like that. They're just little add-ons, nice little touches. So, but the journal app is the thing I've been most excited about. John, do you have something? All right, Bill, do you have any other comments?
Did you want to talk about what we're doing next year at all?
You have a particular thing you're thinking of?
We just have the one set up for January, but otherwise we haven't, or solicit thoughts from the.
Yeah, if you have some things specifically you'd like to hear about, I'd love to hear about it. We have a thought for January, and I was looking back to find my notes on that. But I like to do these kind of presentations about changes and things. I don't know if that excites you guys, if it helps you or not. If it gets you, if you saw the journal app just show up on the phone next week, you'd probably be like, what the heck is this? Now you know. When it shows up next week, you know what it is. All right. Yeah.
I've got a suggestion. I'm kind of on the other end of the scale, trying to keep old equipment working and keeping my memory usage down, as it were. An update on Clean Your Mac would be something that would appeal to me, just to make my old equipment work more efficiently.
That would be good. That would be good. Yeah, yeah, that would be good. Other comments, questions, comments on thoughts you'd like to hear about next year? We're at the end of the year, so this will be the last time we're together before Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Merry Christmas.
yeah.
Happy day.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do for Christmas this year. I'm going to give everyone here the journal app.
How about the lights to run it
It's worth it.
I can't help you with that.
Middle name is
Totally on the budget. But, you know, we'll see. That it? Anything else?
Second, unless there's something else. So I'm gonna declare the meeting officially over,
Get your glasses.
but if you wanna stay around and mingle a little bit, that's allowed. You know, if you're not allowed back home for a while, they won't get out of the house. Do your senior enrichment activity. And someone had asked where Mark George's is, and he had a commitment. He had to take care of some stuff for a friend that came up. So he's okay. It's nothing.